Dawn. Anastasia stood by the window, unable to tear her gaze away from the falling snowflakes. There hadn't been any snow this winter yet. This was the first snowfall. How beautiful it was. The snowflakes fell as if racing each other, gently settling on the ground. When Anastasia was little, she used to love winter. After all, it was during the winter that they celebrated Christmas with the whole family. It was Anastasia's favorite holiday. Those were wonderful moments, moments filled with magic. How quickly the years had flown by. She was already 29 now. How she wished she could go back to her childhood, even for just a minute. She wanted to believe in miracles again, to find some hope. Nothing really pleased her anymore for a long time. She didn't believe in miracles anymore. There was a time when she and her husband planned to celebrate all the New Year holidays together, always side by side. Sometimes she felt like she could still smell his cologne at home. That wonderful scent was unique. She loved just lying there, cuddled up to her beloved, inhaling his scent and feeling happy. When they parted, it was very difficult and sad for Anastasia. Her friend, who had been there for so long and seemed like a close person, was no longer with her either. Perhaps she pretended to be sincere, because now she's not around. It's all right. She just thinks now that all the people who surrounded her were coldly stabbing her in the back. But why aren't there any sincere people who can tell the truth instead of just nodding along to deceive? Now Anastasia lives only for her son Mikhail, trying to be a good mother. Although, of course, she doesn't always succeed. She fails to give him the attention and care he so desperately needs. She flinched. It was her son who approached from behind and touched her back. He often did that. "Mom, why are you sad?" "I'm not sad, honey." "You must have imagined it. How can I be sad when I have you?" She leaned down and kissed her son. He kissed her back and hugged her with his little arms. "Mom, let's go outside. I really want you to take me sledding." "Well, if you really want to, then let's go." So, the holidays are over. Tomorrow, I really don't want to go to work already. I wish I could spend at least another week at home with my son. Anastasia was late for work. Punctuality was not her strong suit. No matter what time she got up, she was still 10 minutes late. The colleagues were already in their places. "Good morning, everyone." "Good morning." Maria came over to chat. She loudly boasted about how she spent the holidays with yet another admirer, showing off her photos. Maria is a very beautiful girl who always attracted a lot of attention from men. Anastasia liked her too. A cheerful and sociable girl always comes to the rescue. Sometimes they substituted for each other. "Anastasia, how was your holiday? Why aren't you telling me anything?" "Oh, just usual stuff, mostly at home with Mikhail." "I see, but it's okay, being at home is also good." The workday was coming to an end. Anastasia was called to her boss's office. She was surprised because her boss rarely called her in, and all the reports had been submitted at the end of the year. "Hello, Mrs. Tatiana. You asked for me to come?" "Hello. Yes, I did. Please, have a seat for a moment. You know, Anastasia, you've been working here for quite some time and you've always been highly regarded by me. However, I've learned something about you, and I'm very disappointed." Anastasia turned pale. Her knee on her right leg began to tremble unexpectedly. "Mrs. Tatiana, I'm sorry, but I don't quite understand what's going on." "Oh, so you still don't understand? Well, I'll tell you. Not only have you been spreading rumors about me among your colleagues, but you've also started selling information to our competitors. I'm very disappointed. You're fired. Write your resignation in the HR department. You'll leave without serving your notice. Consider yourself lucky that I'm not pressing charges against you." Tears were already shining in Anastasia's eyes. "Mrs. Tatiana, I don't know where you got this information, but it's a lie. I've never spoken ill of you, nor would I dare. And I've never given away or sold anything. I have a child and a loan. Please, don't fire me. I've told you everything. Leave my office. Anastasia left the office. Her colleagues were already waiting to find out why she was called in. Anastasia said she was fired. Everyone was shocked to hear such news. Maria hugged the crying Anastasia and tried to console her in any way she could. Anastasia wrote her resignation, took her documents and personal belongings, said goodbye to her friends, and left. She walked home. There was no mood at all, she felt nothing but a sense of injustice. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Why is everything like this? For what? I haven't done anything wrong. She was walking through the park when a man in dirty clothes with scratches on his face and a bruise under his eye approached her. The man asked for some money. Anastasia was at a loss, as she had just lost her job, but she didn't have the strength to explain it to him. She took out all the change from her pocket and gave it to the beggar. The man thanked her and said he would return the money, asking her to write down her phone number on a piece of paper, but Anastasia said she didn't need anything and walked away. In the morning, Anastasia went to the kiosk to buy a newspaper and started looking through the ads. There were no good job openings, but Anastasia didn't care at the moment. She needed to find any job, even temporarily, as she had debts and her son Mikhail. She started calling the vacancies, but everywhere they said they had already hired staff. 2 weeks passed. Anastasia still hadn't found a job. She was walking to pick up her child from school and saw a job advertisement on the door of a cafe. They were looking for a waitress. Anastasia went in, talked to the manager, and arranged to start the next day. So began the mundane weekdays at the Entresol Cafe. The team was good, Anastasia hadn't seen the owner yet. They said he took a vacation and wouldn't be back soon. At work, Anastasia was very tired. The salary was a little less than at her previous job, but Anastasia was glad for any work. 3 weeks passed. Anastasia was serving another banquet. When everyone had already drunk a lot, the guests started behaving rudely. Anastasia barely restrained herself from responding rudely to them, but it seemed like everything was over. Almost all the guests went out onto the porch, waiting for their cars. But one man was still sitting at the table, pretending to be looking for a taxi. At that moment, Anastasia was wiping the table in the banquet hall. The drunk man approached her from behind and began to harass her. She tried to break free from his grip, but she couldn't. Suddenly, someone approached from behind and grabbed the bully's hand, dragging him out onto the street. Anastasia straightened her clothes and regained her composure. "Well, how are you?" "Thank you very much." "Thanks to you, I'm feeling better now." Anastasia turned around to see who had saved her, and she was simply shocked. It was the same man to whom she had given change in the park. The stranger recognized her too. They stood there for a long time, looking at each other. The man smiled and extended his hand. "And we still haven't been properly introduced. I'm Mr. Alexander, I'm the owner of this cafe." "Anastasia, nice to meet you." "Mr. Alexander, you had a difficult day. I'll drive you home." "You'll take it in the morning." "Thank you." "No need. I can manage on my own." "I insist. Besides, I still owe you money." Smiling, Alexander replied. They got into his expensive car. Anastasia couldn't help but ask. "Sorry, but how come in the park?" "You know. It just happened. I was walking in the park, saw some guys bothering a girl, and I stepped in to help. The girl managed to escape, but they beat me badly. When I came to my senses, I was stunned. My wallet and phone were gone too. That's where I met you. I definitely wouldn't have made it home on foot if it weren't for you back then. I barely made it out of the park and descended into the subway. I went to a friend's place, immediately blocked my cards, and we went to the hospital. But that's how it went. Anyway, I owe you now." "Oh, come on. I'm glad I could help you. Here's my house. Thanks for the ride." In the morning, Anastasia came to work. She wanted to continue cleaning the banquet hall after the feast. However, everything was already cleaned up, and the girls were secretly whispering to each other about yesterday. It turns out, Mr. Alexander himself came today with 3 assistants and put everything in order earlier than everyone else. In the evening, Anastasia left work. It was snowing outside, covering everything in a white carpet. Alexander was waiting for her with a large bouquet of roses by the car. They stood silently, looking at each other. Yes, Anastasia had stopped believing in miracles, but now she wanted to believe in them again. Anastasia felt that it was fate. Alexander hugged her tightly and kissed her lips gently. Later they got married. They formed a strong family. Anastasia's son was also happy. Alexander became a good father to him. Once, Anastasia's former colleagues from her previous job celebrated at the Alexander Cafe. Seeing Anastasia there, her former colleagues told her that it was Maria who had framed the company and deliberately lied to the boss to cover her tracks. Her new admirer, who she boasted about to her colleagues and who was the same competitor whose hands the leaked information had fallen into. But Anastasia didn't feel burdened by it anymore. She was even glad that everything turned out that way. They were happy together. The 4th member was Victoria, Alexander and Anastasia's daughter.